Good evening, guys. Ken Tortoise Capital Nightly Strategy Podcast for March 18th, 2025. We're just talking with Kevin. We're looking at the kind of day it was today. So, yesterday uh, was this is 10-minute charts, was sideways all day. Then in the afternoon, powerful move, and then a tactical give back in the last 10 minutes. It dropped quite a bit. And then today was a big gap down below the previous VWAP's midpoint, if I can see it that way. And then uh, it dropped from 565 to 560. That's a 1% move in an hour. So that's the move. And then the rest of the day, nothing. And just enough chop that if you're trying kata twos, you should be scratching that. Now, the good news is that what you said was it felt like you did everything wrong and entered the wrong times, and you didn't lose any money. If that's your worst day, everything I tried was wrong and out of sync, and I didn't lose money, but god dang. Okay, I'll take that as my worst case day. On the 3 minute, it's a little easier to see how the nothing of this afternoon, but the something of this morning. Like the OR3 enters here and gives you the first move of the day. There's a second kata 2 that gives you a piece, but that's about it for the S&P. Now, there were other things that moved better. Like if I go to the range divided by the range stat, that gives me the magnitude of the day's range compared to that upper limit. So McDonald's was it moved a 1.66 range. Now, yeah, it was an amazing range day, but look, there's nothing on that makes it easy to trade. The follow throughs immediately reverse, except this thing went from 305 to 302. So the channel here was a 1% move multiple times a day. So we actually talked about that last night that said, if the daily range of something was 4%, I might think, well, that's the amount of volatility it had. But the real opportunity of that thing is, what was the travel distance of the turtle that did all the walking? So this one went from top to bottom to top to bottom to top to bottom to top to bottom, to the VWAP to the bottom, to the VWAP past down. So if you count the number of steps that little turtle made, there were probably 8 2% moves. So there was like a 16% of his daily range in the travel time. And so sometimes you get that, and that's where you say, look, at a time in the broad market condition that we're in right now, sideways volatile, that is the least surprising market behavior ever. Look how stable the VWAP is, and look at the size of the turning points in the VWAP. So this was the max excursion. Here's the same size box. Come on, Kenneth, draw that same size box is how far below. My machine's slow right now, but that's the same size box is how far below the VWAP it went. Yeah, there it is. That's what I'm trying to. I got 2 minutes. I'm running a process in the back, processing last night's video. But anyway, yeah. Now see the size of the move away from the VWAP is identical all day. That's actually information that you can use. Because what you can say is, if this thing gets that far from the VWAP and then starts to reverse, I may be able to actually trade that. That's the only way that you can handle chop, is to say, what is my minimum manageable risk box? You mentioned Devon. Uh, yeah, if we're being honest, this thing, there's a tradable move on the way up on the threes. Come on, grab it. It rolls over like it's supposed to, breaks the VWAP and the PSAR, goes from 35.80 to 35.20. That's 60 cents. That's 2% move, like a stone. There's a Kata 2 effort. The reverse Kata 2 works, and then Kata 2's all the way. This is that maximum excursion from the VWAP. That's a 60-cent move from here back to the VWAP. That's a 2% move. And what if you only got the Kata 2? You'd have about a 10% or a 10-cent risk box, and it made 30 cents.
Well, I gave up at 120 though.
Yeah. Well, as we do. So my point is, look, the we were talking about the book and the psychological tools and tips and tricks and techniques. On the inside, it is, how do I aggressively posture my psychology to be ready for the yang side, the resilient, the repairing reparables, is to say, look, dude, no matter how many times you try and it doesn't follow through and you scratch and template, they all look the same leaving the station.
Mm-hmm.
And you play to the final whistle. Or if you decide to end the game right there, you cannot then beat yourself up about, oh, look at the move I missed. You can
Is it
observe
va-
the move you missed, but you're not allowed to beat yourself up in retrospect by saying, hey, I made a decision to terminate trading at that moment based on who I was and what was happening, and that was the best decision I could make, and I made it. So get off my fucking back.
Mhm. But
It's
is it a valid? It's valid on a day like today to say nothing like it. There was lots of action, but nothing felt right in the
yeah,
way it followed through. So then you either bail early, or you don't get in early enough because you're
yeah,
like, I don't think that's what's actually going to happen, even though I'm seeing the patterns.
yeah.
So that's
So
the
what
kind
you
of
got to
day
do is,
sideways volatile
yeah,
does that then.
yes, this is
Yeah,
exactly what sideways. There, sideways means that the bulls and bears are equally, you know,
yeah,
uh, equally motivated. Volatile means that they are aggressively trading, but as aggressive he gets in one direction, the other guy comes back and pushes it the other way, and guys are quick to grab their bird in the hand worth two in the bush. So you get exactly this kind of move.
yeah.
Now,
Okay.
now if now remember that market classification is about SPY and IWM, kind of that, and DIA. The farther away from that central wagon train of the S&P, the greater the chance that you get a directional move that is not correlated with the market. What are some of those things? Oh, Devon Energy is a very special case of XLE, which is a very small percentage, about 8% of the overall S&P, and of all the XL series symbols, it is the least correlated to the S&P because energy moves according to its own cycle in much shorter, sharper waves than the other sectors in the S&P. So Devon Energy is one that is not surprising to me. Now, here's one this is on the 3 minutes on Brazil, but Brazil has more of the qualities of a SSC when it crosses once and then twice on the VWAP. The second crossing of a VWAP with higher lows, that's money.
Hmm.
And EWZ is not the US. It's not Eurasia. It's not the Middle East. You know, it's not China. It's its own little thing. in South America, and it's in the middle of a major market move. If I go out and look at the 3 days, that thing is at the bottom. It is recovering. It's in the Kata 2 formation of a huge sell off.
Right.
Look at the difference between EWZ and SPY. SPY's 150-day regression line is straight up. This thing was straight down, terminating here. And the last 30 days, EWZ was down 20 day minus 30 to day minus 11 is as straight down, just like the 150. But look at this blue line here. That's the 10-day regression line. That's as straight up as you want. And it's got higher lows. And the 3 period and 5 period and 10 period anchored VWAPs are all pointing straight up. And it closed at the very top of the 30-day high. And it's back to the 150-day anchored VWAP. So all of the pain and suffering is over, and it gave you 1 to the VWAP, halfway back recovered, all the way back to the VWAP. I'll tell you right now, Brazil is ready to go. Any kind of break above 2660, you better be long. So where would you find the next resistance? Way back here, where in this region right here is where the slope of the 30-period SMA is flat. That
Mm-hmm.
fair value is 29. That's a $3 move from here to there. That's a 10% move. And so if it moves $3, your R10 is 6 cents. Your range stat is 60 cents, and it can move through it. There's 5 range stats from price today back to the next resistance. And it's getting ready to break through that like a screaming demon. So you could buy it at 26.60 with $1 stop and leave it alone. And then look to start adding turbo while you're in that swing position on the way up. Or start with it intraday, see if you can earn some money on the intraday move, and then keep a piece with $1 stop towards the return to 29. So when you have sideways volatile markets in the S&P, you've got to look for, if you want longer term trades, you got to find the things that are trending that are not strongly correlated to the S&P, because it's just going to be oscillating violently and chew you up like hamburger. So Devon Energy is one. EWZ is something. U.S. Steel is actually
Yeah,
one
well,
of
I
the
was looking
few
at Alcoa.
yeah.
Oh,
Those
yeah,
are the things that are benefiting from the chaos. Alcoa is in great shape too, even better than U.S.
yeah.
Steel.
I've been watching that one. Yeah,
Yeah, and so I don't think regional banks are at the bottom of the channel, even worse than the S&P, but there's ready to be a 1, 2, 3. If I looked at IP, International Paper, actually this we did this a long time ago. A long time ago. Back in
yep.
November, we drew this one right here. That was the breakout of that whole congestion zone, and it ran up. It went from 50 to 60, a 20% gain, and it's been between 60 and 50 forever. It just came finally all the way back and tested 50, and now has given us a 1, 2, 3 entry on the 3-day charts. If I looked at that on the daily chart, it's actually not bad at all. It held support right where you want it to hold support, which is right here, almost to the penny. So I'm ready to buy this above 52 with a $2 stop as a swing. And my idea would be that it's going to get back to 56. So that's a $4 move on a $2 risk. That's 2 to 1. If it gets through 56, it could go to the top of the 150-day high which is 60. So there's an argument that the previous 150-day move is this one. That was a strong, powerful move. And it's had this last 30 days just got murdered. And now there's a favorable move to the 30-day high and the 150-day high as a potential swing. International paper, not connected to the US market. It's a global economic mature industry. Business cycles picking up in the rest of the world. That could work, you know. Coke and McDonald's. Coke, COTA 2 setting up. McDonald's, COTA 2. Those did not suffer anywhere like the S&P did. I mean, Coke, what's not to love about Coke? Hey, look what it did in the last 30 days while the market got absolutely murdered. Who owns Coke? Buffett, never sells.
Mm-hmm.
Great dividend. It's gone from 63 to 73. 15% move, while the market lost 15%. Caterpillar, man, nothing to see, but maybe finding support. Cliff, short-term trade only. Emerging markets is probably going to be amazing. Yeah. It's already breaking out 2 highs. Mexico, better than Brazil. COTA 2 formation. Clean energy is going to look like crap. Yep. There's no money for that. Public subsidy for those nitwits. Qualcomm in the semiconductor space. I'd buy it on sale. You think semiconductors going to zero? Nope. Quintuple bottom at 150. Buy it with a $10 stop. It's a 6% stop. Just fucking buy it. I got 5% in the double leverage semi sectors. I'm not going to touch it for 3 years. I predict it's going to be okay. I think it's going to be better 3 years from now than it is today. Because how else are you going to rebuild America's economy? You got to bring steel home, doing it. Got to make your own semiconductors. You got to spend money to do that. Trump just committed $500 billion to that kind of stuff. So, your strategist has to be looking at the sideways volatile markets. Your tactician has got to be able to find little moments and opportunities like we've just described.
Mm-hmm.
Your technician has to turn that into precisely framed engineering solutions for reward to risk. And your integrator, your trail boss, has to put together the trading plan that accounts for all 3 of those dimensions. Fair enough?
Yep, it's good.
All right.
Cool.
That we got that recorded out. Wondered if
That's
I
great.
go back and clean out my profanity. Nah, screw it. If they catch that and shut me down, then I'll take that.
Yeah, I didn't.
A little bit of hot sauce.
A little bit, but not before. After you record, I don't think much.
Just one. Once.
Just one.
Yeah.
Is that all it takes?
And it was for effect. It was an intention. I mean, it was on the edge of my lips, and I said
that should be that's
it's
with
a
you
choice.
right back.
It's a choice.
I chose to.
That's what it was. It was for effect.
Yeah.
And this is not designed for kids. Hey, your president, Elon Musk, and his vice president, Donald Trump, use worse language in public on the record doing the government's business. So so just kiss my ass a little.
Yeah, boy.
Modern
Okay,
times.
cool.
All right, brother. We'll see
All
you.
right, thanks. See ya.